Hello Dogs fans, welcome to another episode of After the Dogs Roar for the season of 2017. This is episode 26. Let's get straight into having a look at the episode agenda. It is another big show. I'm going to start off the show by having a look back at our round 18 AFL clash, which took place at Cairns Stadium in Cairns against the Gold Coast Suns. Looking forward to reviewing that game. My round 18 votes from that game to come for the After the Dogs Roar Best and Fairest Award. Then going to have a look at how our recent result has affected our position on the AFL ladder. Then going to have a look back at our VFL round 14 clash, which took place on the weekend against Coburg. A look at where we stand on the VFL ladder follows that. Then going to get into a preview of our VFL round 15 clash v Williamstown. Then previewing a massive clash against Essendon. This is our round 19 clash. It is going to be a big one on the weekend coming up at Etihad Stadium. Looking forward to previewing that game. And then to finish off the show, it's the fan favourite segment. It is the 5 fan questions. So let's not waste any time. Let's get straight in to the show, starting with an overview of our AFL round 18 clash against the Gold Coast Suns. So on Saturday, the Western Bulldogs were taking on the Gold Coast Suns at Cairns Stadium in Cairns. It was our home game. And of course, we were coming into this game with a valuable win at the MCG the week before against Carlton. A win that we just needed heading into this match, and this was a game that we were expected to win coming into this match. It didn't really start off in our favour. I thought the Gold Coast Suns got off to the better start. We got off to a little bit of a poor start, which has been a little bit of a trend this year. Starting off poorly in the early stages of a match. We conceded the first 3 goals, but we did come back and lead at quarter time. To our credit, we led 4-4-28 to the Suns, 3-2-20. So we led at 8 points at the quarter time break. The second quarter, we only restricted the Suns to 1 goal, 2 behinds. We kicked a bunch of goals, and we were able to lead by 20 points at the half-time break, 7-6-48 to the Suns, 4-4-28. The third quarter, we actually let them back in it. In fact, they only trailed by a point at one stage in the third quarter. We, however, were able to blow it out again in the later stages of the third term, and we led reasonably comfortably. We led by a pretty, I guess, comfortable margin at three-quarter time. Not very comfortable, but a comfortable margin, 10-9-69 to the Suns, 8-7-55. That is a 14-point lead there to us at the three-quarter time break. And then we were able to really finish off in the fourth quarter. We restricted the Suns to only 1 behind in the fourth term. We kicked 6 goals and 5 behinds in the fourth term, and we were able to win a game that we were expected to win, and we did just that. The final score being the Dogs 16-14, 110, defeated the Gold Coast Suns 8-8. 56. Let's go through the goal kickers before I get into any more of my thoughts. The goal kickers, Picken, he was outstanding. This was probably the best game from him this year. He has been one of those players who probably hasn't actually performed as well as what he did last year, but this was a really good performance by him. He got 6 goals, which I believe was a career high for him. Dale got 3. He's been very impressive over the last few weeks, Bailey Dale, so congratulations to him. 3 goals in this match. Luke Dalehouse kicked 2. Redpath, Liberatore, Roughhead, Murphy and Wallace all kicked singles. The best players were, well, Liam Picken, you can't argue with that. Toby McLean played a good game. Luke Dalehouse, Hunter Wallace also getting in the best players. Now, the sad story to come out of this game is Dale Morris. He suffered a broken arm, and there's a little bit of doubt of whether he'll actually go on and play next year. We're not actually sure at the extent of the injury yet, but it's probably likely that he might miss the rest of the season. He might come back, who knows? There is always a possibility of that. Yeah, hopefully he gets offered, of course, he is out of contract at the end of this season. Hopefully he gets offered a 1-year contract for next year and just goes on for 1 more year, because that's a bit of a sad way to kind of end your career. It's a kind of a bit of a bad note, to be honest, in my opinion, to, you know, some players don't have any choice but ending their career on that note. But hopefully Dale Morris can recover and get back and hopefully play 1 more year. He's a very experienced, very courageous and very legendary player, especially at the Western Bulldogs. So not great there. Now Jack Redpath is also a big story out of this match. He's actually been offered a 1 week suspension by the match review panel for his action in the I think it was at the end of the first quarter or somewhere around there. So he won't be playing next week, which is very disappointing, because we do need him up forward next week. But overall, I thought this game was pretty good. I think this has been the best game from us out of the game since the bye. We won the disposals, we won the kicking efficiency, we won the contested possessions, we won the free kicks, even though that doesn't really matter at all. We won the marks by a pretty good margin. Tackles, we only lost by 1. The tackles, clearances, we did lose the clearances. Again, that's probably a little bit of a ruck problem, to be honest. That's been a bit of a trend this year. Inside 50s, we got a lot of inside 50s in this match. 63-41, the Gold Coast Suns. We won the marks inside 50 for a change, and we didn't win the hitouts. The Gold Coast Suns won the hitouts to advantage 12-7, but we won a lot of the crucial areas, and I thought we played very, very well. It's our biggest margin win, our biggest win of this year, and yeah, a very, very good win, especially this late in the season, and you know, maybe this is kind of now, maybe we're at the point now where we're starting to peak and starting to really kind of peak at the right time, because, well, finals are just around the corner. We haven't booked ourselves in the top 8 yet, but we can do that if we win our remaining games. So a very good win. We went over to Cairns. What does everyone think about the one home match at Cairns by the way? I'd like to hear everyone's thoughts on that, because I think it's a little bit, even though I think it's fantastic, because a lot of people do turn out to the match in Cairns, but it's a little bit controversial, because we also now play those, we play that 1 game this year, and we're probably going to play more games at I think it's called Mars Stadium, at the Ballarat Stadium that they've redeveloped, and of course they're playing a game against Port Adelaide there in the second last game of the season very soon in round 22. But can we continue playing that 1 match in Cairns if we want to play matches at Ballarat? Let me know your thoughts. I'm not too sure whether we can, but geez, a crowd of I think it was just over 9,000 at Cairns turned out for the game at Kazali Stadium. So a very good win from our Western Bulldogs side. Very pleasing win. We've got a big match coming up on Sunday, which I'll get into very shortly, but it's time now to have a look at my votes, my round 18 votes for the After the Dogs Raw Best and Fairest Award. Okay, so let's get straight into my round 18 votes for the After the Dogs Raw Best and Fairest Award. I'm going to start with my 1 vote. It's gone to Shane Biggs. I actually thought he had a very good game in this match against the Gold Coast Suns. He marked 10 balls, 27 disposals, 18 kicks, 9 handballs. I actually thought he played a very, very good game in this match. He didn't get in the best, but I thought he was one of the best out there, and that's why I've given him 1 vote. So well done to Shane Biggs. I know there's been some people who have called out during the year to drop him, but he he's played very well in this round 18 clash. I've given 2 votes to Lockie Hunter. He got 31 disposals. It was 24 of them were kicks and 7 of them were handballs. He also marked 10 balls, and I thought he was pretty influential in this game, a real standout, and he gets the 2 votes for me. And the 3 votes no doubt goes to Liam Picken. I thought he was incredible in this game, a career best of 6 goals, 111 fantasy points, 8 marks, 15 disposals, 14 kicks, 1 handballs. But I think the majority of the reason into why I'm giving him the votes is because he marked 8 and he kicked 6 goals. Could have had 8 goals because he got 2 behinds as well with along with that those 6 goals. So a big match from Liam Picken. Like I said before, hasn't really had the year that he had last year, but he played very, very well up forward for us on Saturday in Cairns against the Gold Coast Suns. So that is my votes, my round 18 votes for the After the Dogs Roar Best and Fairest Award. Time now for the leaderboard. So Marcus Bontempelli still leads the After the Dogs Roar Best and Fairest Award. He didn't poll a vote in round 18, but he leads on 17 votes. Jack McRae second with 13 votes. Caleb Daniel third with 12 votes. 4th is Lockie Hunter with 11 votes. 5th is Luke Dalehouse on 9 votes. We then have joint 6, Jason Johannesson and Toby McLean on 5 votes each. Joint 8th is Lin Jong, Jake Stringer and Liam Picken on 4 votes each. Joint 11th is Mitch Wallace. By the way, Mitch Wallace, those votes probably don't reflect the year he's had. He's had a fantastic year, and he probably in reality should have more votes than that, but he just hasn't been given them. And he's actually had a very good year this year, by the way. He's probably been one of the best, probably in the top 5 performers at the club this year. Just thought I'd point that out because I don't think the 3 votes next to his name really reflects how well he's actually done this year after returning from that injury. Tom Liberatore, so Mitch Wallace, Tom Liberatore, Zane Cordy and Jack Redpath joint 11th on 3 votes each. 15th is Matthew Suckley on 2 votes, and then on 1 vote each, joint 16th, Bailey Dale, Tom Campbell, Lewis Young and Shane Bigg. So that is the leaderboard for the After the Dogs Roar Best and Fairest Award. Time now to have a look at where we stand on the AFL ladder after round 18. And, well, we've moved up to 10th position. We are on 36 points. We are level with a few teams. West Coast, Essendon, who are inside the top 8, and St Kilda, who lost to Sydney on Saturday night. So those losses that the Eagles and St Kilda suffered on the weekend has really helped us because if the Eagles won, they would be inside the top 8 right now, 4 points clear, but they didn't win. And we've got a crucial game against Essendon, who are sitting 8th and on the same points as us. It's just the fact that they have a better percentage than us is the reason why they are in 8th position. Same with the Eagles, they're above us on percentage as well. Our last 5 weeks consists of playing 3 teams that are currently inside the 8. So we've got Essendon, who are currently 8th, as you can see. We've got the Brisbane Lions, who of course are down the bottom of the ladder. But then we've got the GWS Giants, who are 3rd and not in the greatest form right now. Port Adelaide are 5th. And then Hawthorn have got in our last game, which of course they're on 12th and not inside the top 8. But yeah, 3 teams in our last 5 games are inside the top 8. So we have got a very big 5 weeks ahead of us to try and lock in a top 8 place. I believe we can do it. I think after that win against the Gold Coast Suns, my opinion on whether we'll make the finals or not has kind of turned a little bit. I think we can definitely make it. We just have to perform the way we did on Saturday, play that every single week. And it's going to be a tough game against Essendon. Of course, I'll preview that game very shortly. But, yeah, we're currently 10th on the ladder, just 4 points basically outside the top 8, or basically we're outside the top 8 on percentage. So there you have it. We are currently 10th on the AFL ladder after round 18. Crucial game coming up, a crucial 5 games to finish off the season and decide whether we play finals in 2017. Okay, time now to get stuck into our VFL Round 14 clash, which took place on Saturday at our home ground at Victoria University, Whitten Oval against Coburg. We absolutely smashed Coburg on Saturday. We won this match pretty convincingly. The quarter time score was us 6-5-41 to Coburg 0-0. They hadn't even registered a score in the first quarter and at quarter time. The second quarter, it wasn't until the second quarter that they were able to register 3 goals, but even then at half time we had a pretty convincing lead of 8-8-56 to Coburg 3-3-21. We basically restricted them to 1 point in the third quarter, and we led pretty convincingly 17-8-110 to Coburg 3-4-22 at 3-quarter time. And like I said, we won this match pretty convincingly. We smashed Coburg, and this was a very great win for our VFL side on Saturday afternoon at Victoria University Whitten Oval. The final score, Footscray 18-9-117, defeated Coburg 8-9-57. A very, very big result there for our VFL side. Let's go through the goal kickers because this is always an interest. Webb had an outstanding day with 4 goals. He could be in the discussions to come in. Of course, we probably do have a couple of players coming out this week from the Gold Coast Suns game. Jack Redpath and also Dale Morris, of course. So we'll be looking for a couple of players to replace them. Travis Cloak also got on the score sheet. He got 3 goals, kicked 3 goals on Saturday. I reckon he's probably the likely man to come in for Jack Redpath, no doubt about that. Russell, Piani and Boyd kicked 2 each. Matthew Boyd, I reckon he could come in for Dale Morris, being kind of sharing that same kind of position as Dale Morris and having that experience. I reckon he's probably the likely man to come in for Dale Morris. Shea, Hamilton, Roberts, Gowers and also Goodyear got on the goal sheet with singles. And then the best players were Webb, Boyd, English, Jamison, Roberts and Cloak. Haven't seen a lot of English in the seniors lately, of course, after his debut not too long ago, but he seems to be travelling along nicely in the VFL. Roberts, of course, dropped a few weeks ago as well. Got in the best players. Good to see Travis Cloak in the best players as well. Of course, our new recruit of this year from Collingwood over the off-season. So a good win for our VFL side. Let's have a look and see how that result has affected our position on the VFL ladder. So on the VFL ladder, after round 14, we are sitting 3rd. We've moved up from 5th to 3rd after that big win against Coburg. We actually have the second best percentage in the competition, which is very, very good, a very healthy percentage there. We are on 36 points. We are 4 points behind Williamstown, who are currently 2nd, and we do play them in a massive 2nd v 3rd clash on Saturday. I'll talk about that in just a moment. Port Melbourne are 2 points behind us on 4th, and of course Richmond were above us last week. They're now below us on 5th, so a very good spot to be in terms of our VFL side in 3rd. Yeah, very, very good spot to be in, no doubt about that. We have the 9 wins and the 5 losses to our names. So a big match coming up, as I mentioned. Let's get straight into that one now. And our VFL round 15 clash is a beauty. It is a massive clash. It is 2nd v 3rd. Our Footscray Bulldogs are taking on Williamstown. Of course, we're sitting 3rd, as I mentioned. Williamstown sitting 2nd. This match on Saturday, the 29th of July, 2:10 p.m. at Burbank Oval. You can actually watch this match on TV on Saturday. It is the VFL game of the week, the broadcasted game for this week. No better game to broadcast than this one. So if you're living in Victoria, living in Melbourne, even around the country, you can actually view this match on 7plus if you're living outside of Victoria on Channel 7. So a big match there to watch on Saturday before our senior side play on Sunday. But also I feel like this is a massive kind of match, not only because of the ladder, but also because Williamstown used to be our reserve side. I feel like it's kind of a, I don't know, not a rivalry game, but yeah, just it feels sort of like that in some sense. That probably made absolutely no sense, but you kind of maybe get what I mean. I don't know, maybe you don't. But anyway, 2:10 p.m. at Burbank Oval this Saturday. Footscray Bulldogs taking on Williamstown. Get along if you can, because this is a must-not-miss game. It's probably better to see this live than actually on 7. But if you can't get to the game, then you've got the freedom of watching it on TV. So a massive clash. I'll be watching and following with great interest on Saturday to see how our VFL side go against Williamstown. It's a massive clash, and Williamstown are in good form, as well as our VFL side. Footscreen. And time now to get into our massive AFL Round 19 clash, which is happening this Sunday, the 30th of July at 1:10 p.m. at Etihad Stadium. It is our Western Bulldogs taking on Essendon in a must-win game, really, because well, they're inside the top 8. They're on the same points as us, but they have the better percentage. So we need to win this game to possibly go inside the 8 at the end of this round, although the Eagles are playing the Lions on Sunday and they have a better percentage than us, so we could be sitting 9th or something at the end of round 19 if we do win this game. So we've actually won the last 2 against the Bombers, both at Etihad Stadium. It's not going to be an easy game, it's no doubt about that. Essendon are playing some great footy this year. They're a better side than last year. They are. I like watching them at times. Although North Melbourne, I thought, took it up to them on Saturday last week in round 18. So this game, of course, is going to be broadcasted on Fox Footy. Just for all those people who are interested in our games, our broadcasted games. We currently have only one game in the last 5 games, excluding the Hawthorn game. So I guess one in the last 4 games. One of the games are on free to air, which means the other 3 are on Fox Footy. Of course, that Hawthorn game yet to be announced when that game will take place. So just for a bit of information there. But a big game coming up on Sunday, and I believe we can win this. If we can play the way we did on Saturday against the Gold Coast Suns, we can win this, but we have to be aware of the tools that Essendon have, and also the speed that they can play at, especially at Etihad Stadium as well. They're very ruthless and very dangerous when they play at Docklands, a bit like us last year in a sense. But yeah, win this. We go over to the Gabba to versus the Brisbane Lions. If we lose this, then there's still a hope of making top 8, but it would be a big step in that direction and a real plus if we're able to win this. So looking forward to this one on Sunday. I'll be watching and following with great interest. I cannot wait. It's going to be massive. The Western Bulldogs Essendon this Sunday, 1:10 p.m. at Etihad. Okay, time now for the fan favourite segment. It is the 5 fan questions. Let's get straight into it. George asks, how are we going to go with height deficiency down back against the Bombers? Very interesting question, because besides from Zane Cordy, we don't actually have a lot of tallness in. If you look at our side from last week against the Gold Coast Suns, we don't have a lot of talls up in our defence. So whether we bring in Fletcher Roberts for this week or just go with what we have, of course we do have Lewis Young and Easton Wood, who are very good interceptive marks, and of course possibly, I believe, Matthew Boyd will come in for Dale Morris. So I guess, yeah, look, Danaher's very big, very tall, very dangerous. There's a lot of other dangerous players in their forward 50 and in their team. So we don't have a lot of tall players in our side though, especially up in our defence. So yeah, I'm not sure how we're going to go. I hope that our interceptive markers are good enough to take on those tall players, but they're going to be very hard to stop, and yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Beveridge tackles that during the week. I wouldn't think that there'll be many changes to the side this week, but yeah, of course, I guess Jordan Roughhead's a possibility of going down back as well, so he's the other tall that we could slot down there as well, and obviously Robert Murphy plays a role down there as well. So I'm not sure how we're going to go, but I think, obviously Tom Lynch was restricted last week, and a few of the other tall players were restricted last week against the Suns. So there's some hope that we'll do very well in terms of height against the Bombers on Sunday. Matt Button asks, with 2 wins in a row and 5 games left, are we coming good at the right time? I think so. I would have rathered us coming good at an earlier time, possibly after the bye, or even a couple of weeks after the bye, or just as soon as possible. Really, I would have liked to see us come right, because I think, you know, we are definitely in with a shot to make the top 8, but we really have to dig deep and basically win our last 5 matches. Of course, we can probably afford to drop 1, but that's all. And we need to also rely on the Eagles and St Kilda and also the Bombers getting beat around us as well. So, but I think we are coming good at the right time, and I believe if we play the way we did on Saturday, that was a very good win from us. It was our biggest win of the season. If we can play like that every single week leading up to the finals, we'll make the top 8 in my opinion. Of course, just to remind you on the fixture, we've got Essendon, of course, on Sunday. Obviously, Brisbane Lions interstate at the Gabba, GWS at Etihad, and then Port Adelaide at Mars Stadium, and then Hawthorn in our final game. So they're winnable games, all of them, but they're going to be tough. And but like I said, if we can play the way we did on Saturday, we can get through the top 8. But yes, to answer your question, I think we are coming good at the right time. Matthew asks a pretty early question. It's a bit too early to be asking this, I reckon, but I'll answer it anyway. Which Bulldog will win the Norm Smith this year? Look, I'm going to take a punt and just pick out a player, and I'm just going to say Mitch Wallace will win the Norm Smith. You know, I hope we can get to the grand final for his sake, and also for those who missed out last year. And yeah, I reckon with his performance this year, he's played very well since he come back from that injury. I reckon he'll win the Norm Smith. But of course, like I said, a bit too early to be thinking about that yet, Matthew. But I like your early thinking, and I like your question. Thomas asks, on to next week after a solid win, and with Morris now ruled out for the season, who comes in? Are there any outs-ins to be made? Yeah, I think so. I think, like I've mentioned throughout the episode, I think there's a very good chance Matthew Boyd will come in for Dale Morris. It just makes sense, although you could bring in, I guess, Webb, although, you know, he's probably more so, you know, in the centre and forward kind of player. But I think Matthew Boyd will come in for Dale Morris, and he's been playing very well in the VFL, Matthew Boyd. And of course, there's probably no doubt he'll probably retire at the end of the season, I reckon. So bring him in and keep him in for the remaining 5 games, especially if he's playing well in the VFL. I think the other changes that's very obvious as well is Jack Redpath. He's got a one match suspension, I believe, and so he'll come out. And I think there's a possibility that Travis Cloke will come in for him. He's played very well in the last 2 weeks in the VFL, so that's probably my ins and outs for the game on Sunday against Essendon. Travis Cloke in for Jack Redpath, and Dale Morris out for, of course, because of that injury for Matthew Boyd, who comes in. So yeah, that's my answer to your question. Jack asks a very interesting question. Lewis Young and Bailey Williams, the best replacements for Bob Murphy and Matthew Boyd when they retire? I think so. Lewis Young showed some very good signs in the game against Carlton, and in fact he's at 197 in height. So he's very tall, and Bailey Williams is at 187. So. You know, Bob Murphy's 187 and Matthew Boyd is 184. So you bring in the same height players, if not taller. And we know that Lewis Young, I actually believe he's a very good intercept marker, and I think he can play a very vital role up in the defence, similar to possibly Easton Wood or something like that. So yeah, I actually think they are good replacements. Of course, I think over time we will kind of strengthen the back line by bringing in more youth, and then also, you know, obviously trades and stuff. But I believe, yeah, these two, Young and Williams, are very good replacements. They're very good up-and-comers, and we're putting them in the side at the right time, because then they can learn off Murphy and Boyd, etc. So when they retire, they, of course, step in to take their places and know what to do. And that is it for this episode of After the Dogs Roar. Thank you very much for watching. Of course, don't forget to like, comment and share this video. Subscribe to keep up to date with a new episode of this every single week. And, well, let's hope the Dogs can win against Essendon this Sunday. Let's hope our VFL side can get the job done over second place Williamstown on Saturday. Looking forward to seeing how those 2 games pan out. And so until next week, I'm Jacob. Go Dogs. Bye for now.